White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon joined Donald Trump's presidential campaign in August 2016. But the former executive chairman of the right-wing website Breitbart News has been part of Donald Trump's trusted circle for many years. The new book, Devil's Bargain, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, and the Storming of the Presidency chronicles the intertwined past of both men and how they reached the White House. Author Joshua Green writes, any study of Trump's rise to the presidency is therefore unavoidably a study of Bannon, too. Green is the senior national correspondent for Bloomberg Business Week. We welcome him here to the table.
Thank you. Thanks
Good
for
to have
having
you. You've known Bannon since 2011. Talked to him on and off the record since. I want to start with this. I mean, their relationship was strained when he started. Steve Bannon is back in the president's good graces now.
That's right. So I met Bannon in 2011, long before he knew about Trump or anybody was thinking about the events that have kind of transpired.
He was simply a filmmaker to you.
He was a filmmaker. He was this kind of fringe character in Washington that not a lot of people knew about or ever thought would be important. And so the book essentially tells the story, the inside story of how Trump and Bannon came together, the rise of the alt-right, and Bannon's years-long plot to tear down Hillary Clinton, which was really, I think, what endeared him to Trump, what helped get Trump elected. But of course, then they had a kind of a falling out when Bannon's profile rose to a level that Trump wasn't comfortable with.
Cover of Time magazine.
Cover of Time magazine called him the great manipulator. You know, he had this kind of dramatic fall, and now he's back.
But what did he do for Donald Trump?
I think he did two things for Donald Trump that I cover in the book. One is Bannon was the mastermind of an interlocking group of political organizations funded by a right-wing billionaire whose mission was to tear down Hillary Clinton. The goal wasn't to do that for Trump. This was long before Trump was the nominee. But it was clear that Clinton was probably going to be the Democratic candidate, and Trump wound up being the beneficiary of Bannon's efforts. The other thing he did is when he took over Trump's campaign in August, Trump was really floundering in the polls. Bannon managed to get Trump focused away from Megyn Kelly, away from the Khan family, and use all that anti-Hillary knowledge to keep him focused on the opposition.
But he'd already begun to talk about issues that Bannon liked in terms of immigration and a kind of populism, too.
He had. I mean, if you look at Trump, and I do a chapter on Trump's political history before Bannon, he has always had these populist impulses. Back in the 80s, you could hear him talking about trade deals, and instead of maligning China, he was maligning Japan. So there was a lot of overlap, political overlap, between Trump and Bannon to begin with. But I think Bannon really brought the idea of illegal immigration and understood its power as a political issue, and Trump really became the vessel for those ideas, and it's what carried him to the White House.
But Bannon also called him the imperfect vessel, right?
Yes.
So they're not together on everything.
They're not together on everything. I think Bannon, like most of us, certainly myself, did not understand from the get-go what a powerful politician Donald Trump was going to be. Bannon was advising him informally as long ago as 2010, thought he was an interesting guy, but nobody thought that he would win the nomination or the presidency. Only when he knocked out the rest of the Republican field, I think, would Bannon wake up.
Makes him that powerful a politician, apart from Bannon and anybody else?
I think that he has this great personal force as a candidate. I mean, we saw in the Republican primaries, Donald Trump doesn't think a lot about policy, but he's able to kind of dominate his opponents in a way that most politicians aren't. And he used a lot of Bannon's ideas to do that and to knock out what everybody thought was the strongest Republican presidential field in a generation.
I remember watching on Inauguration Day. It was a rainy day, if you recall, and once everybody already left, including the president, everyone went back into the Capitol. Two people stayed at the podium. Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway sort of looking out of the terrace and saying, you know, look at what we've accomplished. In Bannon's mind, could Donald Trump have won the presidency without his aid?
I think if you tortured Bannon, he wouldn't answer that question. But my answer to that question is no, I don't think Trump could have, for two reasons. One, that Bannon's efforts, especially the book Clinton Cash, which we all remember from the outset of the campaign, which Bannon helped mastermind, really tarnished his opponent in a way that she never fully recovered from. And then on the flip side, his ability to keep Trump focused on Clinton in the home stretch of the race. And then you had the James Comey revelations, and suddenly Trump was able to pull ahead. I give Bannon a lot of credit for having helped Trump do that.
Is it possible now that there's going to be some kind of split between Trump's base, which Bannon also has served well because of the kinds of things that are happening in terms of the welfare of that group of populist Americans.
You know, it's interesting. There haven't been any signs, or there have been very few signs, that Trump is losing his base, that's happened. He's lost. He never had the support of Democrats. He's lost a lot of the support that he had with independents, but his base has stuck with him. The kind of people that Steve Bannon talks to have so far stuck with him. The question is going to be, can Trump ever deliver anything for these people legislatively, or is he going to spend 4 years enmeshed in scandal?
Yeah, but at the same time, during the election, he also got independents, he got Rust Belt Democrats. I mean, it was a broader audience than just his base.
Well, I count them as being part of his base, but ultimately he needs to deliver for them economically and fulfill some of these promises he made. And there's no sign yet that he's really going to be able to do that in any area other than cracking down on illegal immigration, which, of course, was one of Trump's big promises.
We have to mention we did reach out to the White House for comments on the reporting in your book. We have not heard back about what they think about all that. But Steve Bannon, I mean, this is a guy also who made a lot of money. And has now made a lot of political hay railing against the elites and the folks who have a lot of money. I mean, I suppose not dissimilar to Donald Trump in that way. How does he square his worldview and sort of how he's developed here financially? You know,
I think it's similar in a way to Donald Trump. I mean, he was a guy who was very smart, who succeeded in all sorts of different realms, but came from a blue-collar Navy family, deeply traditional Catholic background, managed to get into Harvard Business School, kind of survived by his own wits in Goldman Sachs and in Hollywood. I think that really gave him a connection to Trump, who saw him as a deal maker, as someone who spoke his language, as somebody who was comfortable with moguls, and as somebody who had ideas that Trump recognized, I think even just at an intuitive level, could advance Trump's political career.
It's interesting that you play down any tension between him and Jared Kushner as well. Fascinating book. I know you've wanted to interview him since you first met him. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
Joshua.